bit about the floating fly. More specifically, I want to talk about the corks and the lift bites. There seems to be a lot of confusion of what you can do, what you can't do. The good thing about it is you can pretty much do anything that you want to do as long as you get the balance of your saw. There seems to be a lot of confusion of what you can do, what you can't do. The good thing about it is you can pretty much do anything that you want to do as long as you get the balance of your cork correctly. And I got a bunch of corks here in the tank, and that's the best way to illustrate how the cork works, how a lift bite works. Because what happens is when you're fishing the floating fly, you're usually fishing anywhere from 6 to 15 foot leaders. And when you have leaders that long, what happens is the fish was hitting the fly and coming up in the water column. When you were kids, you were fishing for brim, they tanked the cork under. But a lot of times when you're dealing with these longer leaders, the fish are hitting the fly and they're coming up in the water column. They have your fly, but you have no way of knowing that the fish is on that has your bait unless you have some kind of balance system on your cork. There are advantages and disadvantages of all the cork systems out there. You need to experiment and find out which one's more important to you, which one's more versatile, which one's easier. So that's what I'm going to go over today. One of the first corks that we have is the knuckle system. He had a 7/8 inch pear-shaped bobber. It was one of the first corks that I'm aware of that came out. And basically it's a really small cork, and that's one of the biggest disadvantages of it is it's very small. It's hard to see. It's also very light. And it doesn't throw very well in the wind. So that's some of the disadvantages. But the good thing is it requires no knots. It's basically, you can adjust your leaders. All you do is snap it in, snap it off. And that's some of the advantages of it. But let me show you a little bit about a lift bite. If you look at your cork here, when it hits the water, it's sitting on its side. When the fly goes down, it turns the cork over, upright. So I'm going to use my hand as a fish, come behind it, grab it, and you'll notice the pear falls on its side. I'm letting it go again. Come back over here again, pick it up, and it goes on its side. So that is what you're looking for on a lift bite. You're looking for that cork to fall over on its side. And that's why the technique is very simple but very specific as far as the balance of the cork is concerned. You can make any cork do that. It's just the pros and cons that go with it. And that is the knuckle system right there. And it's a very 7/8 inch, really cheap cork, plastic-like cork. And you basically rig it upside down and you throw it like that. The next method you have is you have the bobber system. Very simple technique, very cool. It's made out of styrofoam versus plastic. A lot of people use a three-way swivel. You tie one three-way end of the three-way swivel to your main line. The other three-way swivel goes to your fly, and then the next one you attach your cork. Now the three-way swivel is used to balance the cork, and it makes it turn it over. It just needs a little bit of a boost to turn all the way over. So basically the internal weight is inside the cork. So it helps it throw it a little better. It also gives it a little bit more weight to help you throw the cork a little better. It's a little bit better system than the knuckle system. You can compare sizes, but this one is loaded with lead and this one is just not. So again, it works the same way. You put it on its side. When you throw it out, you drop the fly and it turns it over. Again, you get a lift bite. It turns over on its side. That's when you want to set the hook. We'll do it again. Then you lift it up. It turns over on its side. So again, it's a very good, it works very well for lift bites. It's a little bit bigger to see because of the stop sticking out. It's a little harder to throw in the wind. And the next cork we have is the 1 1/4 ounce inch plastilite. And it's basically the bigger version of the knuckle system. And basically the same thing. You rig it on the bottom, it floats on its side, and then you lift it up, and it floats on its side. Do it again. It's a little harder to see on the lift bite. The next cork, the good advantage of this is you're able to move your line, your leader, adjust your leader at an instance. And basically what happens is when you have your cork, if you're hung up, you can just take the cork off, put it in your pocket, take your 10-foot rod, reel down to it, and then dislodge it. And then you can reel back up and put your cork back in place. That's one of the biggest beauties, you know, because you're looking at $2 a fly, and $2 a fly, and you're able to, you know, retrieve your fly and save some money. Another advantage is you're able to move your leader up and down at an instance. You know, if you want to go to 8 to 12 feet or 8 to 10 feet, you're able to do that. Whereas if you have the three-way swivel in there, you're going to have to retie all of your knots. Or after put a longer leader on there, you know, when you're looking at 30-degree temperatures or even colder when the floating fly shines, your fingers don't work. So those are some of the advantages. Another thing is the quarter. This one is a little bit easier to throw because it's bigger. It also helps pack your line onto your spinning reel a good bit to keep those birdnests. So the tighter you pack your line on your spinning reel, the easier it is to cast, and the less bird nests you'll get. Another cork that I've been playing with is basically taking a stick-shaped cork, and as you see, it has a lead weight on it. What I've done is I've cut the cork open, similar to what the Bob's method does, and put the weight in internally. And this is really a unique situation because it detects the lift bite extremely well. And if you look at it here, you can see where I've slid it down in the middle, and I've inserted the weight and then glued it back together. So basically what this happened is you're still able to adjust your leader lengths. You're still able to take your cork off and put it in your pocket to get hung up from the trees or down in the water column. And it sits completely on its side when it hits the water. And then when you drop the cork, it sits completely straight up. So when you get a lift bite, it immediately goes to its side. Now it's got bigger lead in here. It's got a good chunk of lead. I mean, I guess that's a 1/4 ounce. It enables you to throw it in the wind. It enables you to detect the lift bites. It also has less resistance, if you want to consider it, that the fish has to take it under. So it avoids detection, you know, if you want to call it that way. I've never been a big fan of that theory, but if you are, it does help you. Very little to sink that cork. So that's basically the basics of the floating fly as far as a lift bite is concerned. You don't usually get a lot of lift bites. Most of your fish that you catch, I would say maybe 15 to 20% of the fish that I catch are maybe on a lift bite. It's not a very big margin, but it's still enough to make it, you know, it's a difference between a fish or two, or maybe even 3 in the course of a day. It just depends on how the fish are biting. So that's how we determine the balance between the fly and the cork and how to determine a lift bite.